Good afternoon. We are live because it's 5 o'clock on a Friday. Welcome to the Property Experts podcast or show, depending on what you're listening on. If you're on YouTube, then it'll be the show. If you are listening on the podcast, then it'll be the podcast. But welcome to all newbies and people that people that join us on a regular basis. We're here every Friday. We're here to help you grow your property development business and other associated businesses around that. We've grown 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses over the last 6 or 7 years. And I'd like to think that we know what we're talking about in certain circumstances. So we've got a jam-packed episode, as always. Some really exciting and cool topics, very varied this week. So we hope you enjoy it. And then we've got a lot of questions at the end to run through from Instagram, from last week, and from other places. If you want to ask a question throughout this, drop it in the comments below, and we will try and attack it as soon as we can. So on the agenda today, we are looking at eNPS. That stands for Net Promoter Score. What is it and why is it important for all your companies? We are raising money again for charity, and we're going to be talking about our 61-kilometer kayak. Frustrations with utilities. This is one of mine this week because I am losing the will to live with utility providers and dealing with them. And I'm going to be giving you my top tips on how to approach that process. Jack's been away this week, so he's going to be discussing some of the thoughts he's had on working during holiday, as it's holiday season. Why we do these live videos, so a little bit of a rundown as to why. We get asked this a lot, like, why are you bothering spending 2 hours a week, on these calls, doing these podcasts and live recordings? And we're going to be spitballing a few things as to why. Some email hacks. Jack is the king of all hacks, and if you haven't checked out his Jack's Hacks videos on YouTube, head over there. I think we've got quite a few banked ready to record. We had a bit of a pause on them, but I'd like to try and get those back up and running because there's some absolute corkers in there about productivity hacks, how to be more productive and more efficient, and hopefully you'll learn some new tips and tricks to use in your businesses and personal life. Setting up your development tracking for success. I've learned a lot this week. We had a really good conversation at the Developer Club with all of the other developers in the group, and we are pivoting and sort of improving our process. And I'd like to share the learnings that we've made there. And like I said, we've got plenty of questions that we are going to be running through. So welcome if you are just joining us. Jack, you want to give a quick intro to this?
Yes. Yeah, of course. So hello, everyone. Good evening. Looking forward to engaging, and let's get some questions in while we're recording, because that's the whole reason we do it live. So you can ask questions live that are burning and taking up space in your head without a answer, and hopefully we'll be able to answer it. And we would like a challenge, so any question asked will get answered. So eNPS stands for Employee Net Promoter Score, and we run a group of businesses, and we decided to put this assessment out, which is commonly used actually in larger companies, but we feel as we're growing and as we bring new people into the team and have new ways of working, or even have existing ways of working that might be outdated, we want our employees to communicate with us as freely and openly as possible. But sometimes you just telling them that they can do that, or that the door is always open, isn't quite enough to drive the real root of problems, root of issues, or even employee day-to-day happiness out of that situation. So the eNPS, so again, that's Employee Net Promoter Score, is a anonymous assessment that you give to your whole team, asks them a series of questions, which you can probably guess what they will sound like. So it's like, would you recommend working for the company to someone else? Do you feel like you're progressing in your job role? Do you feel valued in your job role? What would you look for to potentially look to move businesses if that was a thing? And it's trying to drive the sort of, I suppose, issues that an employee may have in your business, so that you can iron them out without them knowing it, you knowing it's them, and them knowing that they're going to find out that it was them that wrote those comments. So I think we had about 12 submissions across the 15 that we have in Central Suites, XP Property and XP Surveys. Obviously, Ben's got a team that's actually a similar size just in Aura alone. But it's to drive change. It's for us to, put our hands up and accept criticism and drive change into our business in the areas that is really, really important, which is the team, which are going to help us achieve the goals that we collectively agree into the businesses. So we did carry this out. we were really really pleased with the scores. Essentially, the majority of the team came back very positive about, yes, we are a growing business, but we do quarterly reviews, which keeps everyone on date. The biggest complaint actually was our office space. Even though it's in a phenomenal location and really good place to be for, shops, and Henley's a lovely place to be in, it's just too small. So the footprint that we have is not enough. But spoiler alert, we are actually expanding office space, and that is already wheels in motion. So hopefully actually we'll be crossing that one out of the employee score. But that's an example. People saying they get easily distracted in the office because there's just too many people in too little space. And we completely agree. It's not cohesive to be in the office when it's a busy day because it is too small. But that's an example of something that might happen in the eNPS score. And then you can actually make a physical change if you have a group or even more, one or more people that make that complaint. Obviously, it's down to the director's discretion, and some things you might actually disagree with, but it's the opportunity to understand, a free stab where an employee is going, they're not going to know this is me. Here's my, formal complaint and what would make this company and job and team and environment better and more, make my day-to-day more happy, and then you can act on it. So just to give you an indication, the main indicator is how they would promote your business. So anything below a 6 is called a detractor. So someone that is probably speaking negatively about your business when you're not in presence. And then it goes into neutrals, people that are comfortable there and like the space. That's a 7 or an 8 out of 10. And then a promoter is a 9 or a 10, which is where they would recommend working for the business to someone else. So our average score was actually in the promoter green space, which is really, really good. And what is also really important for anyone listening, if you're struggling to recruit or get a employee onboarding in the recruitment process, it's also good to share this with the employees, because we always tell prospective people that we're interviewing that the people in the team enjoy the team the most and the environment. But if you actually have a clinical data point like an NPS score, is really, really valuable to share that in the interview process as well. Anything I missed, Ben?
No, bang on. I think the amount of times that we've talked about the team being one of the most important things in your business, it's almost every week we're saying something similar, and it's great to see that our teams are, a net promoter of our business. And I think it's fundamental to, like Jack says, driving forward in the right direction. And if you've got a happy team, it's more likely to get you to the places that you want to go as an individual business owner. So they're the ones generally day to day pushing things forward, operating the business, generating the revenue, the profit margins. So why wouldn't you want to keep those people happy? So yeah, I think it's a great thing to be doing. Like Jack says, it's something that a lot of big corporates do, but there's absolutely no reason why small businesses like us shouldn't be doing this type of thing. I think there's so much that I've learned from bigger corporates that I then bring into Aura, to XPS, to XPP. If they're doing it, there's a reason for it. It's because it's a great thing to do, and why wouldn't you do it as a small business? So yeah, think about it in your business. If you want some intros into the spreadsheets that we've been using to gather this information, the Google Forms, and what it's all about, then drop us a comment below or direct message us. But eNPS, take it from us, use it, and improve your business going forward. Cool. Some of the other things that we do to retain good people, a lot of good people want to be involved in the business. They want social events. They want to be getting involved in extracurricular stuff, exactly like our charity Kayak. So we did it last year. This year, on the 30th of August, we will be kayaking down the River Thames from Abingdon-on-Thames to Henley-on-Thames, which is 61 kilometres. I think we've got about 16 of us signed up. 12 to 16 of us signed up. We've got 2 kayaks, which you can see in the picture, which have been delivered today. We did it last year. To rent the kayaks was almost the cost of actually buying them. So we've ended up buying a couple of kayaks. And next Friday, we will be out on the river. It was a gorgeously sunny day last year. We're hoping for something similar again. And it's a different team, part of a different team. So a lot of newbies that are going to be doing it with us. We're trying to raise at least £2,000. That's our first target. Last year, that was our target, and we absolutely smashed it within a number of weeks. And we ended up achieving almost £10,000. So It's for a very, very worthy cause. It's for the charity Mind, which is all about mental health awareness. And if you would be so kind as to donate, we will put the link in the description down below. It's on our Just Giving page, and we'd love to raise as much money as possible for Mind.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on so last year we actually donated to the what you could call the Mind Original Group charity, which is purely focused on every facet of what Mind support. We've decided to go more locally on this occasion, so it's actually Mind Oxfordshire. So not only do they provide care and assistance for people that are struggling with mental health, but also housing, which we thought was very apt given the business that we're in, that we provide private housing and private purchases and private rentals. And we're hopefully, supporting the less fortunate that can't live in our, shared HMO or whatever it may be. But super excited for it. Ben, I've actually just checked the weather and it looks to be like we're in luck,
Nice.
which is good news.
Good. I was thinking, we did it last year and it was such a good day to then be wading through tornadoes and wet weather would certainly put a damper on things. But, it is what it is. We'll do it regardless. It should, for those that are interested, take us about 12 hours. It did last year, slightly less than that. So we hope to be back in by dark again. And yeah, please donate generously.
Yeah, just want to shout out to Harry Stevenson Clark. Thanks very much for your donation. I saw that come in, very much appreciated. And the reason that he's this is his first Live at 5 is because he actually lives in New Zealand. So thank you very much, Harry. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great cause, very, very close to my heart. Onto something that is less fun, and that is frustrations with utilities, and that means utilities connections. So I'm sure those of you that are property developers listening into this will understand the sheer pain and the banging your head against a brick wall for working with utility providers, the time it takes, the lack of understanding or pragmatism is unbelievable. But I'm going to be trying to help you avoid some of those disappointments by giving you some of the sort of top tips and things that I've learned throughout this process to help you ride the wave a little bit smoother. So first one I've got on my list is to prepare early. You can never prepare early enough for making utilities applications. Get them in as soon as you've purchased the site. Because it is the sort of thing that can hold things up. We had Thames Water waste 13 months of our time, delay and cause 2 sales to fall out of bed on our Princess Risborough scheme last year because the water connections weren't made in good time. So I'd say Thames Water is probably the worst, but yeah, the sooner you can get your applications in, the better. And that isn't just getting the applications in, that's making payments, because typically they don't do anything until they've received payments for things. With Thames Water, they often want staged inspection. So once you've made the payment and you've got the design, they will ask you to provide and install the pipework from your site to the boundary. And then at that point, they will want to do a water regulations inspection. And then only when that has been signed off, will they then start coordinating the connections to the mains water. And that process is painful because they've then got to liaise with the local council to get permits to do the works. They might have to organise traffic management. And none of that process starts until the water regulations inspection has been signed off. So get your applications in early, make payments on time, respond in good time, and you're going to help yourselves in the long run. One thing I've learned this week is that certainly UKPN, who's one of our electricity providers on one of our sites, what you would hope would happen is that you submit a plan, they look at it and they say, look, that doesn't work for us. This isn't compliant. That isn't compliant. You don't have access here. And they turn around and they say, why don't you do this? But that's not how it works. You submit a plan. They say, no, that doesn't work. And they say, send us a new one. So you're basically second guessing what they do or don't want. We are, I think, three iterations now in with UKPN. We've now changed tact completely. We're trying to bring the electricity in from a completely separate entity, a completely separate route, but we're having to send that to them to say, does this work? Instead of them coming to us and saying, why don't you do X? Because that would work for X, Y, and Z. So extremely frustrating. What I think I'm going to be doing going forward is saying, here's 3 options. Please review all 3 and then come back to us with your preferred option. That way you're kind of cutting out the delays, because what normally happens is you submit an application with drawings. It takes them 3 weeks to get back to you to say that no, this doesn't work. Then you have to submit something else. It takes another 3 weeks, and you're just back and forth constantly. So if you can provide options for these providers, it's going to sort of double or triple your chances of finding a solution that works for both parties. Challenge everything is my third tip. With utilities, both challenge the costs and also challenge, like the UKPN offering that I've just talked about. They came back to us with a solution, but it was basically digging up about 100 meters of land that we don't own to a place that we don't even need to make a connection to. So those sorts of things are very clearly and obvious items to just challenge and say, look, this isn't going to work. This doesn't work for us. It may work for you, but it doesn't work for us. So challenging the price, challenging their design when it comes in, that's challenge basically. We've been using utilities consultants, and I would highly recommend doing that to take on the coordination of utilities yourself. We've done it. I don't like doing it because it saps so much time and energy. By bringing in a utilities consultant, hopefully the people that you use, and we've had bad ones to be fair, but hopefully the good ones that you do use understand the process far better. They can help you streamline the process more so, and they've actually saved us a lot of money in the past. So this challenging that I'm talking about in point number 3 is great. And if you understand the process, you can challenge things that are really obvious. But there have been times where our utilities consultant have challenged things that I wouldn't think of challenging, and saved us, a remarkable amount of money actually. So use external consultants. Some of those external consultants know third-party installers that can actually take on the installation and save you costs for the actual connection works. And this is only really relevant for big lumps. So if you're looking at 100, 150, 200 grand's worth of work, there will be some installers out there that can save you a lot of money by coordinating and installing all of the works as part of their scope. So maybe doing the gas and the electric connections and the water connections all under one roof, digging same trenches, and sort of saving all of those individual markups on individual processes and timelines by bringing it all in one house to a third-party construction installer. And then something that we've come across recently with some utilities, they are going to want easements, which is a legal kind of right for them to put a gas pipe within your land, for example. And if they need to dig it up or do some replacement works, they have a legal right to enter site and do such works. And that's effectively all it is. But it's just another cost for you. You've got solicitors that are going to have to deal with this back and forth. It might cost you a couple of grand to put that in place. You might have external investors that you're working with that are party to the land title. They have to then agree to the easements as well. They might have solicitor costs to kind of coordinate that process. So it's a faff and it's an extra cost. And sometimes, if you don't know that it might be possible, it's a cost that you might not have budgeted for, or contingency that you don't really want to be using. So watch out for easements, but they are very common. And we have recently pushed back on some of the standard terms within the gas suppliers legal agreements, whereby we clearly have a gate that sat along the line of the connections that are coming in. If we wanted to replace that gate, we would have to get the gas suppliers approval to do that, which is ludicrous on our own land. So we had our solicitor push back on the wording that said that needs to happen. So yeah, if you've got a good solicitor, you need to make sure that they are pushing back on some of the points that these easements try to make you do. But hopefully that was sort of useful for some of you that are going into property development and haven't really understood or gone through the utilities process. It is very slow, very convoluted, very painful, but hopefully those tips will help give you a bit of a head start. Cool. And for extra tips like that, we are growing in our XP boardroom. We've had a couple of new starters recently, which is amazing. We've got our face-to-face boardroom session early next month, I believe, in Clapham in London. And this is for people that want to scale their property business. Maybe they're just starting out, done a couple of HMOs, or want to start in development, want to know how to start and run a successful property business around just doing individual profitable projects. So if you're interested in learning from Jack and I, and the shared knowledge and shared contacts within the room, comment boardroom below or DM us or email info@xpproperty.co.uk. Cool. Holiday working.
Yeah, we don't need to spend too long on this, but it might be a secret to all of you, but I spent the last week in Cornwall with family and dogs and food and booze and whatever you want to call it. But it was all really good fun in an Airbnb overlooking some fields with some cows in it. It was lovely. My intention was to try and actually get some time away from the desk, because we've got a PA now. We've not really got any live acquisitions that need driving forward other than one particular site which we have exchanged on. And it fundamentally, there was a point in the middle of the holiday where I felt like I needed to do a day's work because then I could relax a little bit more than I was. So it's just to put it out there to say sometimes you do need to, stay back, hunker down on some emails and catch up with a few things. Bit more firefighting. I wouldn't say do it for respite just to crunch your emails through. But sometimes there is firefighting, and as a business owner, that is to be expected. And there was actually a poll that was shared with me, which was what CEOs spend most of their time on. And I think something like 90% of a business owner or CEO's time is actually spent on firefighting problems, because they are things that are not routine elements that come into the business and don't necessarily have a person that deals with those things. And I'm not talking about, the toilet's blocked. That should be an office manager's role. I'm talking about a big problem where you've got a big financial problem where something's moved or changed and you need to dive in and give it the time and the attention that it needs and deserves. And sometimes you've got to accept that might fall during a period where you're supposed to be taking time off and just deal with it. And quite frankly, it's just to say that. And, it's okay to, if you are off for a week, to do a day on your emails or getting stuff done, making phone calls to drive the business forward or to resolve problems that you might need to resolve. Definitely don't be in the sorting office of your emails and being, fielding things X, Y, and Z and dealing with booking in a meeting for next week. But definitely the sort of really high value tasks or high risk tasks, it's okay to just actually get on with them. That was it.
Did you have any eureka moments? Any moments where you're like, that's a really good idea, this headspace away from emails and stuff have helped clarity on X, Y, and Z?
No, not necessarily. I know what you're getting at, like the clarity moments where you are relaxing and you do think of things slightly differently. I wouldn't have said because the only times I really had away from the office, the desk, I was actually playing golf and really trying to work on my golf game when you don't really have time for other things. So yeah, I was in company. I think it's a bit different if you go away as a couple and you have a bit of downtime because you don't need to talk permanently to each other. But because you're away with family, there's always things to be talking about. Mm-hmm. So not necessarily. Yeah. I mean, we had a friend of mine who George Biffin, came down and we had some eureka moments doing a bit of business coaching with him around his business, which was quite fun, like looking under the bonnet of his business, where it's at. He's actually, in the classic restaurant phase where like number 2 outlet or just keep it at number 1 and be a I suppose a higher margin business, or then do you go into scale? So that was really fun looking under the bonnet of his business, and I found that fascinating. Nice. But generally not necessarily. Yeah, the firefighting that I was doing was not headspace firefighting. It was sorting out cash flow problems. So not fun.
Fair. I mean, I asked the question because it is what I find when I go on holiday. Often if I can properly relax by a pool or, like you say, in the downtime, I often get the best ideas that sort of don't necessarily come to me when I'm busy running around like a madman. It's those sort of like
yeah. I did actually have one. I did actually have one quite good one. I got an email from a Central Suites investor asking about timeframes on a couple of investments that we've got coming up, 2 projects that we're buying. And because I was out of the office and thinking slightly differently, there's a deal that we are buying, which is, I think, has got an element of risk around the gross development value of it. And it could end up being quite a costly site to buy, the acquisition cost, because it is a high value property. It doesn't need a lot of work. We're just basically buying at a very big discounted value, but that discounted value gets eaten up by stamp duty and finance costs. So if you don't get the GDV you need, you might be breaking even on quite. And then the issue with the bigger sites is because the debt piece is quite a lot bigger. Every week that it's not selling is chunking into the red is significant. If you're buying a 200 grand house and selling it for 375, the risk is a lot lower. But this is, almost going to be going for hopefully towards $1 million. And I suppose one sort of eureka moment I had was looking at actually saying the timeframes of the 2 projects in my head. I think we might actually be able to do one cash quickly and then do the second one leveraged, which is our most traditional way, rather than doing one investment and waiting for the second one. And it also de-risks. So it's kind of like double solution. It de-risks the riskier deal. And it means that we actually get a higher cash return on his investment and our return on time, and then still do the deal number 2, and hopefully, obviously, a second deal at the same time as the second one anyway.
Nice.
That was one.
Cool. Yeah, I think fundamentally everyone needs a break. It's not all hustle, grind. You need to roll your sleeves up when you have to, but you need these breaks to reach. I do find that I get a lot of really good ideas when I'm in that zone and zoned out of work day to day. I've got an apology to make now because I said last week that I would run through the brochure for our Muswell Hill project, and I haven't prepared for it, and I'm not going to talk about it because I want to do it properly. So Christina, make sure that I get this in there next week. And if you tuned in specifically for this, I apologize, but tune in next week again and I will run through our top tips for creating good sales brochures, how to sell faster, types of things that you need to be including within your brochures, how we've planned our e-website, and how our site hoarding is installed actually on this site. So maybe I'll have some photos of that as well next week. Cool. And then on to why we do these live videos. I've been asked this quite a few times, to be fair. And I remember Ryan actually when I took over your spot in the developer club the month you were away on holiday. He was like, why do you do them? This was before kind of setting up your ground up podcast. And it's a valid question. And for us, I think the overarching thing we want to do from this is bring opportunity. And I think doing things like this, repurposing across various formats, is an easy way of using 2 hours of our time a week that we can then repurpose and spread across lots of other platforms. But fundamentally, we want opportunity to come in, and that's what we're hopefully attracting. And by opportunity, I mean both investment from external investors. All of our projects are generally with external investment. So, if you're an investor watching this, we'd love to talk to you, because fundamentally that's one of the main reasons we're doing it. Deal flow, we get deals come in and opportunities. Speaking of deals, I know that Jack's been in discussions with Harry Stevenson Clark, who was tuning in earlier and has donated to our charity. So, it's things like that and opportunities that come about through sharing what we're up to, and having people reach out based on something they've seen. I had a very interesting call, and she's probably tuning in. Shruti, thank you very much for the conversation I had yesterday. But Shruti found us via various platforms. She is an extremely passionate and hungry. She's a student at the moment studying, I think, real estate, and she wants to come and work for us. She knew more about our business than I know, through tuning into these regularly and gaining loads of knowledge. And we get such good feedback. The amount of dross that's out there from various property education platforms is staggering, really. I'd love to share this even further, because I think the value that people get tuning into us every week is way more than paying 30 grand a year to learn how to source deals that don't work and do rent to rent. So, not only are we giving value back from property developers, but I think there's a lot of value that we give from a business perspective. So why do we do it? Investment opportunities. We like to share value. I think that's fundamentally what Jack and I like doing. And it's a good use of our time to then repurpose into multiple formats and spread the word even further. So that's my take on it, Jack.
Yeah, I suppose for me, there was actually, speaking of eureka moments or aha moments, Ben, there was a turning point for me because I really kicked the arse out of physical networking events. There was a period probably between 2015 to 2017, 2018, where I was really making an effort to learn, meet people, sap information off others, sponge information off other people. And the way that I learn best is I'm dyslexic, so I don't like reading. So I like learning off other people. I like that engagement. And rather than having to read a 20-page document about party wall surveying, I can ask someone that's a surveyor what the most common things that you need to look out for. When they tell me that, I then remember it rather than trying to digest it on paper. So that's the main reason that I would do the networking. And then I started to get a reputation and speaking gigs and attend speaking gigs. And I then started limiting to only go to networking events that I spoke at. And then it starts to get a bit old when you're out once or twice a week. You leave the house at 4 p.m. You have to get into the city. You get back at midnight, and then you've got to get up again at your normal agenda at 6 o'clock. And if you have 2 event days back to back, they're 18-hour days, and you're away from the office, so you're not getting the work done that you also need to do from a desktop perspective. So one thing that I hugely love about these lives is if I go to a physical event and I speak to people at an event, there might be between 30 and 50 people there, 50 on a good day. And yes, it is more valuable because you are face to face, but your return on time for that 8-hour window of getting into town and getting back out to town is a really poor return on investment. So if you look at our average views on our videos, it's over 100 views per video. That takes Ben and I about an hour a week to do that. And then obviously it goes to be edited to then produce further reach that's evergreen. So we record it once and it's watched over and over again, not by the same people, but by more people. There's no friction. It could get 1,000 views. It could get 100 views by the time that video, it's never going to reach its ceiling because it's always available for anyone to view. Yes, it might become dated, but it's all about building that personal brand and profile. So that's one of the reasons I love it. We get an average of 100 views. And if you picture 100 people in an audience, that is a lot of touch point of people. That is a really good reach. Our lives don't get as much as our bespoke videos. So we launched a video specifically about labor and it's almost got 10,000 views. Those views, go viral, and there's a lot more thought process that goes into actually editing that video. So YouTube probably pushes it a little bit better as a better produced video as opposed to a live, but we're happy at 100 for live. Obviously, the more the merrier, but I think that's a really good return on investment and time for us as people, as directors, because we have limited amounts of time. The most important thing in anything in the world is our time.
Yeah, nice. It's a key point actually where we're sort of piecing it up, and Christina's listening into this because she helps kind of get it converted into audio format and spread out across there. And we have at least 150, I think, sort of subscribers on just Spotify. I don't know what we're on Apple, but let us know down below, rate and review. We're always asking for people to do that and share it with people. But Christina also gets to know more about our business. Our team gets to know more about our business because they see us, discussing these things, and it gives them a really good insight. I'm livid at the moment. Just a quick rant that the reason you're seeing gaming videos on the Homes by Aura YouTube channel over the last 2 days is that my account has been hacked. So infuriating because we spent 6 years kind of building that up and we were really pushing it this year, and we may well have to start it again, but my account's been hacked. I've had to change, cancel Amex cards and all this sort of stuff. The people that have hacked it seem to now be using our YouTube channel to post hack videos on gaming, on Call of Duty and all these sorts of things. So a bit of a rant, but I've certainly learned from this to move forward with better security and have a real closer knit on password protection, 2-factor authentication, having vaults for codes and access codes and all this sort of stuff. So I'm going to be really hot on that over the next month to kind of make sure that we are completely rock solid across the business. But very frustrating. Yeah, a bit of an aside from why we do the live videos, but YouTube relevant anyway. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to know down below kind of what are the top two things in terms of value that you get from these things. You know, why should we keep doing them? I guess, you know, we're effectively doing them for people to learn like yourself, but you know, there's obviously our own agendas as well behind that, but it's dual purpose. I'd love to know what the viewers actually think and what you tune in for regularly if you do. So let us know in the comments below. Cool. Another one of Jack's hacks, email hacks. What you got for us?
Yeah, so I probably will condense this into a video specifically around email hacks, but it's just I was doing some smart emailing, you could call it, over the period that I was away, and I just didn't know if you guys out there that spent, you know, the majority of business owners do end up spending a lot of time in their email inbox and spending time going through emails. So even though we hate it, there are ways to improve your time spent in that email inbox. So I'm going to list through a few of those. We predominantly in XP and Central Suites use Gmail. I don't know if some of these are transferable with Microsoft, but I think most of them are. And just how I use them and how it might be useful for you to think about how you can integrate that into your way of working through emails to improve how much time you spend in your emails. So number one is time. So in Gmail, you can actually time when an email sends. I really enjoy using that because I think of the email to send now, but they might not need to receive it till next week, for an example. Where I've had an example of that is I've thought of something that I want to tell, a bank, but I know that I haven't done the work yet, so the images aren't ready. So you can create a Google Drive link, get the email packaged up, send it to them, and then when the emails are available on the Google Drive, you can then upload them at a different time. So the email goes out on a set date, and then you can then infill the file at a different time, or even at a later date, whatever it may be. So timing emails, I love. We actually let another business down from a perspective they didn't want to work with them anymore. And when they originally got that email, they said it ruined their evening because I sent it at like 6 p.m. So just the final sort of nail in the coffin, I timed it to send it at 9 a.m. because I knew that when they read the first email of us saying that we weren't happy with their service, it ruined their evening, and I didn't want to do that again. I wanted to come in and have a good handover. So that's another example of a timed email, but a bit more morbid, I suppose. Filters. This is probably one of my favorites out of all of these, if I'm really honest. So you can set a certain type of email to do a certain thing within your inbox. So I set filters that if they are, for an example, from that particular address, I might still want to see that email, but it filters directly out of my inbox into a subfolder. It's really useful for things that you might want to read, like articles, but you don't want it filling your inbox when you're managing a day-to-day business. So, for example, Savills and CBRE do marketing reports. I love reading those documents, but I only do it when I have time, and I don't want it flooding my email inbox. So I filter that so that it immediately, without me knowing, bypasses my inbox, but I can see it in a sub-filter there. So then that brings us on to labels. So labels are subfolders or labels or whatever you want to call them, where you can actually manually drag things into those labels, or they, the automated version is obviously they automatically do. But if you've never received an email from that person, how do you know whether to automatically set that rule? So labels is an area where you can drag email over to certain different locations. That's obviously quite an obvious one. CCing others. I find that if you're trying to get stuff out of people, they feel more vulnerably exposed or accountable if you CC in your or their colleagues. So if you're trying to get something from a council, if you're trying to get something from a utility company, if you're trying to get something from someone else in your business, CC in other people, because it enables you to have a third person to be able to see what's going on. Their accountability is then up greater. Templates. This is actually one that I actually really, really enjoy, probably second to the filters. Is if I write an email that takes me a lot of time and I think to myself, that's a really good general overview, or that's a really good overview of that particular business. Or for an example, a lot of people say to us, what do you do? And I've actually got a template saved in my Gmail. that's just a summary of everything that we do. So it goes, "Hi, I'm Jack Jiggins. I've been running several businesses, including XP Property, a property SME development company, including URL Link, XP Surveys, Central Suites, Parasocial, etc." And it's a generic email that I can just click, pull it up immediately, and send it to anyone I know. Equally to that, when we were letting our business box space in Spencer's Wood, it was the same email that I was sending out to all of these inquiries that I was getting from various locations. And you can save templates. So if you write something that might be useful once again, make sure you save it as a template. We also have a filing system in our business called Dext, where we have an email address that we can send every invoice or receipt to, but it's a different email address for different businesses. So one of my templates is all of the different business email addresses for our filing software. Of course, in some instances, I get our PA to do it, but if I then end up doing it, it's super, super useful. Personal and business. So sometimes you have, so I have a personal email address and a business email address. So if I'm dealing with booking a hotel to go away for the weekend with the missus, it's not going to be in my business inbox, and vice versa. You often then sometimes find there is natural overlap. So you might get, you might accidentally quickly book a restaurant, and that restaurant booking go through to your business email address. What I then do is just forward it to my personal email inbox, so that when I'm in a working day, I'm looking at business emails, and then I'll check on the less important personal stuff that you know, if someone personally wants a really good indication of what we're, you know, what I've lost train of thought there after the compliment.
Sorry,
If you know, if people want me personally, they're going to phone call me. They're not going to be emailing me, "Urgent, Jack, can you call me?" They're going to call me. So I know everything in my personal email inbox can literally wait for evenings and weekends. So I sift as much as I can over to there. Task URL link. This is a really, really good one for outsourcing or time blocking. So outsourcing is obviously getting someone else to do something, and time blocking is where you put a time in your diary to do a task. What that task might be to deal with an email. If you copy the URL link of that email and put it as the task name. So for an example, the task might be deal with business rates, and then there's an email that it actually references to. You can put that URL link in your diary so that it's not an unread email in your inbox and clogging your inbox, and you just get to it when you need to. Obviously, if you want to outsource it, you can outsource it to, for example, I give my PA the URL link to that email, and then they deal with it. Outsourcing folder is similar to that, really. There's a folder which is got my PA's name in it, and anything that I think she should be dealing with, I drag that from my inbox to the outsource folder, and I have outsource urgent, outsource 1 week, and then I also have an unsubscribe folder where they know whether to deal with it immediately or to deal with it within 1 week, so that they can manage their desk. And then the unsubscribe folder is just something I don't want to be subscribed to anymore. And then they can then go through and unsubscribe. And then a little top tip for unsubscribing, there is a website called Unroll Me. If you go into it, log in, create an account, add your email address, it shows you everything that you're subscribed to within that email. And you can actually click through and unsubscribe to all of them really efficiently from one interface. So if you're having issues with loads of shit that you don't want to be subscribed to from the years of logging into a Wi-Fi in the middle of Milan, you know, 18 years ago, just to get on the free Wi-Fi, you can actually go through and consolidate those and delete all of those. So yeah, a list, not all, but as most that I could fit in I don't know how long that took, but
some bangers in there. Harry's got one as well. Creating quick steps to automatically file an invoice and also forward to Dext, and also mark it as yellow for invoice and green for processed. I mean, these are hacks that, you know, I didn't know existed, and I need to start implementing, really, because, you know, this automation, using AI, using all of these filtering systems, you know, it's there to improve your productivity and you know, make you feel superhuman to other people, because some people, I'm sure, will sort of be dealing with Jack and realize and ask the question, like, how is he responding so fast, or how does he have the time to kind of do all of this? We do a lot. We're very efficient within our business, and that's how you can be too. Shruti, hello. Thanks for tuning in. Good to speak to you yesterday, and we will get back to you. Cool. I mean, I know we plug this every week, but we really want to share the wealth on this. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. I really want to get to that 2,000 level as soon as possible. I think we're just under 1,100 at the moment. I'm also going to put some trackers every week so we can see how we're progressing on that front. And I might do the same for podcast listeners. But if you're tuning in on the podcast, do please just share it with just one person. And if you can leave a rate us on Spotify and review us on Apple, I would be very appreciative. Cool. On to point number 7. And this is all about setting up development tracking for success. So if you are a project manager, technical manager, site manager, kind of development manager, whatever you are in the business, and you're running a project, these tips will hopefully help you. And I had a really good conversation at the board with the developer club on Monday, and this was one of the topics of conversations. And I got to see how everyone else was doing it in the industry, or within the room anyway. And I took away so much good stuff. And this one was from Shiro, who actually runs the TDC. He's had this system in place for 10 years, and I absolutely loved it. We have a similar system, but it's nowhere near as robust as his. So I'm taking a lot of the ideas from him and creating our own and improving our own process. So when we do a development appraisal, our development appraisal looks like this on the right-hand side. We have the breakdown of pre-planning costs, detailed design costs, pre-commencement costs, construction costs, marketing, statutory, SIL, all of the things that go into a development. And it's broken into quite a high level breakdown within our development appraisal. That's fine, and that allows you to appraise a site, make an offer on a site, understand kind of where the costs are allocated. But when you get to actually delivering on those projects, you need a much more robust way of breaking down each individual cost more and cash flowing it into the project, so that when you have drawdowns from your bank, you can tell them exactly how much has been spent against budget, what's actually been spent, and then actually what's, if there's overspend, what's needed to complete the project. And that's all really your lenders are going to be interested in. Is there enough money in this pot to finish the development, and does the deal still stack up? So at the moment, we use Xero. That's our accounting software, but it's very after the fact, and it is very high level, and it's too high level. And what I mean by that is our breakdown only puts things into those pre-planning, detailed design, pre-commencement, build, sales, marketing. It is very high level to those to those headings. And what Shiro's introduced and has shown me in terms of how he operates it is this grading system, or this prefix system. So A is your purchase, B is your legal and professional, C is your pre-stroke post-construction, D may be construction, E may be sales, marketing, and all those headings that I just mentioned in our development appraisal all have a letter against them. So that's the actual headings. Now what he does is then go one step further and have B01 purchase legals, B02 title indemnity insurance, B03 valuation report, and all the items that go into that heading. So basically subheadings for the main headings. And what happens is, as you build up your development appraisal with those line items, over the years, he's had 10 years of data now for each of those subheadings to see if why has he spent more in architect's fees on this project as opposed to this project, or what percentage of fees were spent on architects in this project. It might be 2% and it might be 4% in another one. So you're questioning, okay, why is it double? What reason do we have for that? And we can see very clearly the data between projects. What it also does is allow you to clearly kind of track budget versus actuals. So if in Xero you have a chart of accounts or a coding system where you've got all of these B1, B2, B3, B5, B7 line items set up as a code within Xero, all of your costs and invoices and payments are allocated to that code. Everything is in the right place, and you can set up at the start of a project what your budget is for that project. So you take your development appraisal, you put your costings in as a budget against each line item, and then you can more easily track your actual spend throughout the project. Now, we do this in spreadsheets, and I completely think you should still be running your spreadsheets in the background for your day-to-day project management. But from an accounting perspective, if you've got all of these codes set up within Xero, it's going to help you track your budget versus actuals far better, allocate invoices where they should be, and then help your sort of understanding and reading of the data on future projects, because you've got it all set up in the right way. So if you're in project management, I'd love to know how you guys do it. I'd love to see any templates for how you run your developments, but this is how we are going to be doing it going forward. We're going to have a far greater breakdown of individual subheadings, so we can track line items more robustly within our accounting software. Hopefully that made sense. I mean, it's quite a lot to take in, but hopefully it helps a few people. Once I've got the system set up in R0, I'd be happy to share how I've broken down those subheadings. So if you want a copy of that, just message down below. Cool. Q&As. Stu's got a fantastic question for Jack. How do you get your hair to stay so perfectly coiffed? Obviously, a joke question.
We've got 3 questions and 2 of them are a joke. Yeah. I mean, he sees me every morning for the ground up, so he knows I just don't do anything when I get the shower. Just push it back and it goes where it is. But the actual joke is, I always say to people that don't know me and Stuart that he's my older brother, so maybe I got it it runs in the family. Ryan has written, when I beat you to 1,000 units, first, do you promise to give me at least a half decent asset? Another ongoing joke, we had a wager that who would get to 1,000 units first.
It's a bit cheaper.
When he says decent asset, that I said the winner, basically I said the winner has to give the other person a house. And he said, and then I made a joke that will be the only house that he owns that'll be worth something, because he's up in Darlington. So he's just joking as well. But we do have a genuine question which both of us can answer, which is a general question. What does a day in the life look like for you? I.e., what time do you start your day, and what is your typical daily routine? How do you track your to-dos? Just interested to know. I'll actually pull up who that was from, because they've actually asked quite a few questions before. But do you want to start, Ben?
I crack on. Yeah. So I've got a 3-year-old and another one on the way. So my day will be slightly different to Jack's, I'm sure. So I typically get woken up, but at about 6:30, typically, I would say, by Lucas coming in. My morning routine is kind of sorting him out, showering, getting changed, and getting him to nursery at about 7:30 typically. So my day will typically start from about 7:30, maybe 7:45 by the time I've sort of got back to the house and sorted myself out. I am typically working till 5:30 when Lucas comes back, and then between 5:30 and probably 7:30 it's family time. It's dinner, it's playing with him, asking him how his day's been, and having some fun. And it's one of my favorite times of the day. As soon as 5:30 comes along, I can't wait to go down and see how his day's been. And then I will probably work in most evenings, to be honest. After 7:30, maybe there's some chit chat with the wife. She's pregnant at the moment with the second, so she's often in bed very, very early. 8:30, 9 o'clock, she might be toddling off to bed. So from 9 o'clock onwards, I will normally be at the desk again, and putting in a few more hours. And one thing I think we touched on last week, or maybe I didn't, but I've now started tracking my time. And this is the second week that I've been doing that, and it's really insightful. So I use Toggl, which is Toggl. There's another one called Clockify. But that's actually been really, really interesting to see where my time is spent, how much is family time, how much is work time, how much is XPP time, how much is Aura time, how much is XPS time, and what that breaks down into. But that's a typical day for me.
Do you use the phone app with Toggl, or?
I use both, actually. When I've got it on the desktop, I find the desktop one a lot easier to use. But my phone at the moment is linked to my calendar, whereas my desktop isn't. So the great thing about the app is that if you've got your calendar linked to it, you can just turn a meeting into a Toggl entry, and then I've set up all my tags, so it's very easy for me to just drop that meeting in, say it's XPP general admin, maybe give it a brief description, and away you go. I'm done. Yeah. So it is actually, I've put it off from now. I know that about 2 years ago, Jack sent me a spreadsheet from Dorian that he uses to track his time, and I just looked at it and just my eyes glazed over. It just wasn't user friendly enough for me to even attempt it. Whereas this app is very intuitive. There's a few niggles, but generally I've been finding it easy to use and enough that I actually do it, because that was my worry, that I'll just get
Yeah.
frustrated with the time it was taking me to do it. Whereas, I
Do you
enjoy
put
it
time?
when I see the
Do you
benefits.
put time in your diary to time track every day?
I will typically do it as I'm going most of the time, or it
Yeah,
might be like a 5 hour block where I don't do anything, but I will then just go
yeah,
back in and sort of turn meetings into calendar entries and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
I found it really, really useful.
No, interesting. Cool. Standard day for me. I'm normally up at about 6:30 to 7. I love getting into the office before anyone else is in the office. So our team tend to get in from sort of like 8:30-ish, sort of 8:15, 8:45. So I'm normally up about 7 and I'm in the office normally by 7:30. So I've got a good hour where just me time. I'll then obviously work through the day, normally leave the office at about 6 o'clock. Try and go to the gym, which hasn't been happening a lot recently because we've had birthdays and traveling and people over and all sorts. I feel like I've eaten in every restaurant in Henley 3 times over this summer. So I normally go to the gym between 6 and 7, and then obviously eat with the wife between sort of 7:30 and 8:30. Whoever cooks doesn't do the washing up, so it's normally a race to who can cook.
I
But
love
that's
watching that.
normally Kelly, because I normally get distracted in the office or at the gym. And then back watching TV. I don't really watch any TV, so I like that Kelly can put on what she wants to watch, and I'm just on my laptop from then 8:30 till 10-ish, and then off to bed, and that's it. And I normally go to sleep to a podcast as well, so technically that could be classified as
That's
some
work.
further work. But there you go. That's
Nice.
life.
Yeah. What was interesting in my toggle is I've got a product a tracking code called Netflix stroke TV stroke scrolling, just like aimlessly scrolling. So I'll see how I've done this week compared to last week, but it is scary how much time you do waste kind of consuming content across those platforms. But so when you work as hard as we do, I think sometimes you just need something that's mind-numbingly entertaining, just to sort of distract yourself from things. But I'm a bit like you, kind of when Laura's in the background watching Made in Chelsea, I'm like watching YouTube videos on SEO marketing and learning things and listening to podcasts and Audible and things like that. So I do think we generally have done 20 years worth of work in the last 6 years, because we 2x everything. I listen to everything on 2 times speed or 1.5 times speed, depending on who's talking. I watch YouTube videos on 1.5, 2 times speed now, because I find everything so slow, and my brain's now programmed to kind of take things in a lot faster.
Yeah, a lot of people say, "How have you found the time to work in 3 businesses?" And it's not that we're better at splitting our time; it's just we work more hours. So,
Yeah.
whereas the average person might work 35 hours in a business, if you do work 70 hours, you can do 2 times that in 2 different businesses.
But those 70 hours that we do, we do at a fast pace, and we, get information into our brains. I'd say, at that 1.5 sort of 2 times speed when we're tuning into other things, which I do think you wouldn't do straight off the bat. But I think over the years, you kind of go from 1.2 to 1.4 to 1.5. Like when I was playing poker, I would, couldn't dream of playing more than one table, and then by the time I'd got into the flow of things, I could play 12 tables at a time. And you just train your brain to kind of cope with more, which is a blessing and a curse, I guess. But it's helped us grow what we've grown over the last 6 years. So how do you track your to-dos? I think we're both pretty good at time blocking, and I think we've done some pieces on this in the past. If you look at both our calendars, you'll see kind of chunks of 15 minutes, half an hour, hours of tasks that we need to do at certain times. And Heather's been great actually over the last couple of weeks since she joined as our executive assistant to help me with that. Like I saw something drop in earlier that I was like, oh shit, I needed to do that, and she's dropped in a 15-minute task for me to like pay an invoice or deal with an email, and that's been brilliant. Nice, good questions. Keep them coming in. Things like that. It's great to hear what you guys want to know, because we're all well and good kind of pulling topics together, and it's relatively easy for us to do that because there's so much going on in our businesses, but some of it might not be of interest to anyone. So if we don't know that, then we just throw it into the agenda, whereas we'd love to be doing more things about questions that you guys are actually wanting to know about. So
I forgot a very important thing that I do every day, actually, which is I spend about an hour getting my quiff perfect.
You've done a grand job today. Really good. Just for Stu. Cool. Anything else that you wanted to end on?
No, keep the questions coming. If you ask a question for like between now and next Friday of like actually what you want to see in the next episode, please just put it in.
Yeah. Somebody's asked, do you ever go and watch the mighty Henley Hawks?
I do go and watch the Henley Hawks. Yes, indeed, and other. I played for Henley from the age of 4, I think, all the way up to adult.
Nice.
So don't play anymore, though. I'm one of those people that's got probably dodgy knees and hands. I actually quit rugby when I was working on a building site because I realised the two don't go together, because you end up going on site with broken fingers and then you do the worst week's worth of work of your life. But I do go down there, and other PM, DM me so I know who you are, and we can nestle a pint in at the old Henley Hawks ground.
Nice, very good. And I think on that note, we'll call it a day and see you again on Friday. And keep your donations coming in for our charity Kayak. We really want to smash that 2K target to start with, and then hopefully aim for the 10K mark. Nice one.
Ambitious.
Yeah. Bye now.
Bye.